that I don't accidentally do the stupid thing and just, ruin 20 minutes, 30 minutes of work here trying to get 500 AP for this one little mini scenario here. Hello everybody, welcome back to a quick version of Train Sim World, so to speak. You guys may remember me mentioning that there was a scenario that wasn't really done in the Sandpatch grade here. There's 75 different timetable services that are also not done. I'm not sure how many of these are tied to the Burlington Northern Santa Fe mission, but we'll figure that out later. We already did all the training modules just by playing the journey mode, but if we go to scenario, there is Cumberland Switchback that requires 500 AP to get a gold medal, and in this mission you have a choice of all sorts of engine. So let's get into this real quick. So for Cumberland Switchback, folks, one of the nice things about Cumberland Switchback is you can sort of figure out what train you want to drive and where you want to go. This is an incredibly easy mission to do. It's not very hard to get the 500 AP, honestly, if you just know what you're doing and where you're going. First off, if you hit the timetable, everything is free to play, so to speak, and where we got to go is to the office building over on the other side, that brick building that's hanging out, right about there, that brick building out there. The easiest way to do this 500 AP point is go to this double engine that's right behind the fuel shed here. If we go to this double engine, what we're going to do is we're going to disconnect the second engine from the first engine just to save us time from setting up. We won't have to worry about any setup at all, other than just for the primary engine itself. So let's go ahead and unlock the coupler, so that way we don't have to deal with these two engines staying hooked together. We're going to go ahead and hop into this front engine facing forward. And this officially is the lead engine, obviously, but we don't have a lot to do with this lead engine. This happens to be, I believe, a GP38-2, so all we got to do is just turn on our number lights here. We don't even need to touch the headlight control. The radio is on already. We're not going to even touch the warning devices for right now. Actually, in fact, I could just turn them on just because I'm going to be in this engine, and you all love me doing the warning devices anyways. So we're going to turn on the gen field. We have engine run, gen field, and control fuel pump are all on. And like usual, we want to make sure we set the cutout valve to freight, and we set in the MU2A valve to leader dead. We're going to bail this whole thing off here. And as you can see, my alerter says the PTS valve is open because I left the handle off. Good job, me. So let me go ahead and release this. Hopefully that will reset it for me. I doubt it's going to reset it. I think it's because I turned the cutout to freight. That's what did it. There we go. That's much better. The warning's officially off. Ignore what I just did there. We're going to put our handle in here. And in fact, let's turn on the light so you can all see what I'm doing here on the controls. We're going to put our front headlight to dim, our rear headlight to dim, because we're not really going anywhere. And we're going to go ahead and start driving forward here. We don't need the ditch lights or anything like that. We could turn on the gauge lights, actually, and that will be just fine. What we're going to do is, if we just follow this on the map here, we're just going to follow this little orange line. We just need to make sure our switches are set for the orange line. And the goal with the switches here is we're going to go to a single track all the way out there, and we're just going to follow this very, very bottom track here. You could have some fun with the switches here if you want to just kind of go up and over and back again, or you just go down the straight line there. I think I'll just take the straight line for this one. I did have some fun in the other one. And where we're going to go with this is we're going to go up until it tells us that we cannot go any further, because if we go any further, we're going to be out of bounds. And that's kind of a critical, very important thing. Please try hard not to overspeed in this mission at all. Do your best to avoid overspeeding, because you need that 500 AP as soon as possible. So as soon as we clear a couple of these switches here, what we're going to do now, we're just going to let the train do its thing and run along without us. And we're going to come back here because this is where we want to end up, right here, parked here. It's going to save us a lot of trouble later. We're just going to switch this so that way we go right into this spot here. We're going to make sure that's switched in. Following this orange line right next to the double track there, we're going to go down to the switch down here. That's already set. This is already set. And then this one's set, and this one's the only one that needs to be turned here. And you can see we're right next to the line here, and what's going to happen here is we're going to continue to switch switches until we find this one switch right here. So this switch is going to be the one that we need to switch once our engine crosses over this little spot right there. So once your engine crosses over this one switch right here, you might as well flip it, so that way you're good to go. For later, when you come back this way, the switch right here will already be set for you to get where you need to go going forward. Otherwise, you can continue taking this engine a little ways down. Something to keep in mind though is you don't want to end up going so far out, and what's important there is that free-to-play mission ending thing. You don't want to try to go any farther than about, maybe 9,000 feet. It does want you to remain in the terminal area for it to actually count. If we go too far out, what will actually happen to us is our icon way down there will suddenly become stuck in the ground out here, and if we try to even drive to that office, we're not going to be allowed to drive to the office, and we're going to actually get some issues and complaints from the management, I guess you can say, and they won't let us complete the mission without us essentially failing the mission. We have to actually restart it. It won't even fail because there's no way for us to fail it unless we crash an engine. We can go down to the classification yard down there. It will actually let us drive all the way down to the end of the light, up until about 5 feet before the light there, in both directions actually, but it does the same thing where it will tell you don't keep going. And so this may actually be a great point to stop our train. First hit the alerter because I got warning devices turned on here. So this will be a great point to stop our train before we go around the corner and not be able to get anywhere. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the independent brake and stop this train. And then we're going to actually flip this reverser into reverse so that way we can start going the other way. Because we've already flipped the switch, we've got nothing to worry about in the other direction. So we're going to go ahead and release our independent brake and bail that off and start heading our train back in the opposite direction. We got 120 AP to get roughly here. So that means we're getting about 240, give or take, maybe a little bit more, maybe more like 270. So that means I'm going to be going back and forth a couple of times here. So if you took the time to change the switch earlier, you should be seeing a 10-mile-an-hour zone as well as a red zone up there. That will essentially put you out in that parking spot over by the office entry where we got to eventually go here. And that will actually tell you whether or not the switches are done right and whatnot. So basically all you got to do is just drive over there, stop there, see what your AP score is, go back out, make up the difference in the AP score, and then eventually drive back to the office. This is honestly probably the quickest and easiest way to make the AP score happen without dealing with moving all sorts of different trains around, moving the turntable around, moving cars around, which of course none of those will count because none of them are part of a real timetable. And of course the timetable doesn't do anything anyways, so we don't need to rely on that. The only thing we're relying on is just getting the right speed limit, and if we stay under the speed limit, we should, for the most part, be good to go. Alright, you can see I got 270 AP score at this point. If I can get 300, that'd be kind of nice. That'd be a good spot to have 300. But if not, I will take what I can get anyways, and then eventually I'm going to move forward, gather probably about 100, probably 100, more than likely, 100 AP score, and then go back again and come back into this very spot. Folks, so there's my 420, and I am going to stop here. This train just before I go any further. It took about 5,500 feet or so to get my 420. In other words, I was looking for 120 AP score. With that, we can put our reverser back into reverse and head ourselves in the opposite direction and finally park our train up there at the 10-mile-an-hour zone just a little bit up ahead. And with that, that should give us roughly about 500 AP. So let's get ourselves at least up to 15 again. And we'll head in reverse until we get there. Alright folks, we should get 510 by the time we get back over there. If we don't, I'm going to be so mad. But we have 2,500 feet. That should be more than enough for us to get the 510 that we're looking for. I want to make sure I don't overspeed, so I'm just going to drop that throttle off and just basically coast the rest of the way there. It should be enough for me to get there. One thing that is important though, all the way at the other end, is I need to make darn sure that I don't accidentally do the stupid thing and just, ruin 20 minutes, 30 minutes of work here trying to get 500 AP for this one little mini scenario here. Yeah, I don't want to run into this guy because this guy counts as a red light as soon as I bump against it or do anything near it. That's pretty much the end of the scenario. There's my 510, folks. All I gotta do now is I could just basically stop the train wherever I am and walk the rest of the way over here, but who wants to walk 1,600 feet? Forget that idea. I could just drive the train, park it here, and get out. So there are some advantages of coasting your train. You can just let it naturally drop off on the speed, and then whenever you get to that point, you could just hop out and walk the rest of the way over. Or for full-on realism's sake, you could just drive your train to the very end of the line. Like I said in the last episode, feel free to tell me what's working well for you guys. What are you liking about St. Patrick's Grade? I haven't done any of the timetable services. There's like 75 of them. I think some of them are tied to Burlington, Northern Santa Fe. So if there's a particular one you want to know about or want to see in the future, I can eventually get that recorded for you guys. And give you some tips and feedback about how it goes and whatnot, so that way you can drive that as well. I better stop this before this thing gets a little too close to the end and I burn this scenario here. I'm not going to do that, so we're just going to stop this train here. This is the perfect place to stop. 50 feet away from that thing. Put this on full service, and I'm not going to even bother turning the engine off. It's totally fine, because we're just going to go in the office and come right back out again. And like I said in the other episode, I am going to go start playing Great Western Express. What I want to try to do, I don't know, we'll see how this goes, is just do all the older Train Sim World games and just kind of see how they all play out and see what's fun about them and what's interesting. And so, Sandbox Great, officially from the journey mode and scenario mode, it's already wrapped up because I ran into this here. That's 540 AP points. Give me my final journey mode scenario, or scenario gold medal, whatever you want to call it. Like, subscribe, leave me comments, and we will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys. That's so strange. This train's not supposed to move. This toggle is on. Well, the DRA is actually preventing my train from moving. I'm probably on a... Oh, that's why it's moving. I'm on a slight grade. Okay, well, there you go. So the DRA, when it's turned on, if you use this for realism and you turn on the DRA, which I actually prefer to do, the DRA will prevent your train from going through a red light or a red signal, and it's a good way to remind yourself, like, accidentally moving into forward like I did, and this will keep your train from rolling away on you. So it's very